"She slept with my husband." Those aren't words you expect to hear from a best friend. They aren't words you expect to hear from a royal. But according to whispers echoing through Toronto's elite social circles, those are the words Jessica Mulroney has reportedly been using behind closed doors. For years, the public thought the feud between Jessica Mulroney and Meghan Markle was about a difference of opinion or a white privilege scandal. We thought it was about PR strategies and bad optics. We were wrong. Because in July 2025, when the news broke that Jessica and Ben Mulroney had separated after 16 years of marriage, the pieces finally clicked into place. This wasn't just a friendship breakup. This was something far darker. Tonight, we aren't just looking at a failed friendship. We are dissecting an alleged betrayal that destroyed a family. We are looking at the timeline, the late-night calls, and the boundary-crossing behavior that Jessica allegedly claims turned her best friend into the other woman. You think you know the story of Meghan and Jessica? You think it's about a stylist who got cancelled and a duchess who moved on. But that is only the cover story. The real story involves what happened when the cameras were off, when the doors were closed, and when a sisterly bond allegedly twisted into something that Ben Mulroney couldn't walk away from. To understand the magnitude of this betrayal, you have to understand who these women were before the world knew their names. Before the titles, before the castle, and before the security teams. Meghan Markle was a working actress in Toronto with ambition that far exceeded her reach. She was talented, beautiful, and hustling, but she was an outsider to the true Canadian elite. Enter Jessica Mulroney. Jessica wasn't just a stylist, she was the golden ticket. Married to the son of a former prime minister, plugged into the highest levels of media and politics, and wielding the kind of social capital you can't buy. When they met, it wasn't a meeting of equals. Jessica was the mentor. She was the connector. She opened the doors to the private clubs, introduced Meghan to the power players, and essentially curated the sophisticated image that would eventually catch a prince's eye. Jessica didn't just befriend Meghan, she built her. She treated Meghan like a sister, letting her stay in her home, holding her secrets and styling her for the events that mattered. In those early days, the dynamic was clear. Jessica was the protector, and Meghan was the protected. It was a friendship that felt impenetrable. But looking back now, insiders suggest that Jessica made the classic mistake of the generous friend. She assumed the loyalty was mutual. She assumed that because she opened her home and her marriage to Meghan, Meghan would respect the boundaries of both. But ambition rarely respects boundaries. And as we now know, while Jessica was building Meghan's future, she may have inadvertently been dismantling her own. The shift didn't happen overnight. It was subtle, like a crack in a foundation that you don't notice until the house starts to lean. When Meghan began dating Prince Harry, the power dynamic in the friendship flipped violently. Suddenly, Jessica wasn't the queen bee anymore. She was the lady in waiting. And to her credit, Jessica played the role perfectly. She flew to London on her own dime. She managed the press leaks, she kept the secrets. She stood front and center at the royal wedding, her children lifting the veil of the woman who was now arguably the most famous person on the planet. But behind the scenes, the sisterhood was becoming transactional. Sources close to the pair noted a change in Meghan's demeanor. The calls became shorter, the demands became higher, the gratitude became scarce. But the most dangerous shift wasn't happening between the two women. It was happening in the proximity to Ben. As Meghan's fame skyrocketed, her need for discreet, high-level advice grew. And who better to ask than Ben Mulroney, a seasoned media veteran with political blood? It started innocently enough: professional advice, media strategy, how to handle the sharks. But those close to the situation say the reliance on Ben didn't stop when the professional questions were answered. It morphed into a dependency that Jessica, in her loyalty, chose to ignore. She was so focused on protecting Meghan from the world that she didn't think to protect her husband from Meghan. And that wasn't the whole story. As the friendship became more lopsided, the resentment began to build. Jessica was giving everything: her time, her reputation, her silence. Meghan was taking it all as her due. But the real fracture wasn't caused by fame. It was caused by what happened when the fame turned toxic. Every tragedy has a turning point. For Jessica Mulroney, that point was June 2020. The world was in chaos, and Jessica found herself in the center of a PR firestorm after a dispute with influencer Sasha Exeter. It was a career-ending catastrophe. She was labeled a racist, stripped of her TV shows, dropped by brands, and publicly humiliated. Her reputation, built over decades, evaporated in 48 hours. In that moment of absolute darkness, Jessica needed one thing: her best friend. The woman she had protected for years. The woman whose secrets she kept. A single word from Meghan Markle could have changed the narrative. A single public statement saying, "Jessica is not a racist, she is my family," would have stopped the bleeding. But the phone didn't ring. Meghan Markle didn't just go silent, she went cold. According to sources, Meghan saw Jessica's cancellation not as a tragedy to help fix, but as a liability to cut loose. It was a strategic amputation. Meghan was rebranding herself as a global humanitarian, and standing by a tainted friend didn't fit the new business model. Jessica was left to drown. But what hurts more than the silence is what was happening in the background. While Jessica was medicated depressed and barely leaving her house, her husband Ben was stepping up to manage the fallout, and who was allegedly checking in on Meghan. Insiders claim that while Meghan ghosted Jessica, she didn't ghost the household. The communication channels remained open, but they bypassed the failed friend and went straight to the husband. This was the moment the emotional math changed. You don't abandon a friend in public while secretly maintaining concern for her husband in private. That isn't friendship, that is infiltration. This is where the story enters the territory of rumors that refuse to die. Because according to multiple sources in Toronto, the comfort Meghan offered Ben during Jessica's mental health crisis wasn't entirely appropriate. We are talking about late-night calls that lasted hours. We are talking about a level of emotional intimacy that blurred the lines between concerned friend and emotional partner. Jessica, in her state of shock and depression, was largely unavailable. She was fighting for her life. And in that vacuum, Meghan allegedly stepped in not to support Jessica, but to bond with Ben over the tragedy of it all. It's a classic dangerous dynamic. The damsel and the hero, or in this case, the concerned duchess and the burdened husband. Sources imply that Meghan used this time to rewrite history, with Ben positioning herself as the one who truly understood the pressure they were under, subtly driving a wedge between the couple. Whether Jessica means this physically or emotionally is almost irrelevant because the damage is the same. An emotional affair can detonate a marriage just as effectively as a physical one. And if the rumors are true, Meghan Markle crossed the one line that is unforgivable. She didn't just leave Jessica behind, she allegedly took a piece of Jessica's life with her. Witnesses from that time period describe a tension that was palpable. Ben was caught between a wife who was falling apart and a famous friend who was offering a shiny, exciting escape from the gloom. And for a man used to the spotlight, the allure of the Duchess, the excitement, the secrecy, the us against the world narrative may have been intoxicating. But secrets in elite circles have a short shelf life. Jessica began to recover. The fog of depression lifted. And as she looked at the phone records, the timelines, and the changed behavior of the man she married, the realization hit her like a physical blow. She hadn't just lost a friend, she had been replaced. Fast forward to July 2025. The headlines confirm what the whispers had been saying for months: Jessica and Ben Mulroney separate. To the outside world, it looked like the delayed casualty of the 2020 scandal. Pressure stress the public eye, it breaks couples all the time. But those in the know say the marriage didn't die because of public pressure. It died because the trust had been incinerated years prior. You cannot rebuild a marriage when there is a ghost in the room. And the ghost of Meghan Markle reportedly haunted every argument, every silence, and every attempt at reconciliation. Jessica allegedly could not move past the betrayal. How do you sleep next to a man who shared intimate emotional space with the woman who left you for dead? The divorce is the smoking gun. It is the physical proof that the foundation was rotten. Jessica fought for 5 years to save face, to keep the family unit together for the sake of her children and to prove the haters wrong. But you can only fight a war on two fronts for so long. Eventually, she had to choose live in a marriage crowded by secrets, or walk away and reclaim her truth. She chose to walk away. And in doing so, she has removed the final muzzle that was keeping her silent. As a wife, she had a duty to protect her husband's reputation. As an ex-wife, that duty is gone. And that is what makes this moment so incredibly dangerous for Meghan Markle. If this were an isolated incident, we might be able to dismiss it as a messy love triangle. But when you zoom out, you see a pattern so distinct, it looks like an algorithm. Meghan Markle collects people. She identifies their utility, whether it's a father who pays for acting classes, a husband who opens Hollywood doors, or a best friend who connects her to Canadian royalty. She extracts the value. And then the moment they become a liability, or she outgrows them, she discards them. Look at the list. Her own father, Thomas Markle. Her childhood best friend, Nanaki Pretty. The Beckhams who were accused of leaking stories and cut off. And now, Jessica Mulroney. The method is always the same: immense closeness, love bombing, shared secrets, and then a sudden icy wall of silence. But with Jessica, the extraction was deeper. She didn't just take the contacts and the style, she allegedly tried to take the emotional loyalty of the husband too. It speaks to a personality type that views people as props in a movie about their own life. When the scene changes, the props are replaced. But Jessica Mulroney is not a prop. She is a woman with receipts, a timeline, and now a scorched earth motivation to set the record straight. So, where does this leave us? Right now, we are in the eye of the storm. The separation is public. The NDA clauses are being scrutinized. Jessica is no longer the canceled stylist. She is the survivor of a brutal betrayal, and she is slowly, methodically reclaiming her voice. There are rumors of a memoir. There are whispers of a sit-down interview where no topic is off-limits. Meghan Markle is currently trying to launch lifestyle brands and cooking shows desperate to appear relatable and soft. Imagine what happens to that soft image if Jessica Mulroney sits in front of a camera and details exactly what happened in those late-night calls between the Duchess and her husband. It wouldn't just be a scandal, it would be a character assassination based on truth. Meghan knows this. Her team knows this. The silence from Montecito is loud. They aren't commenting because they are terrified. They know that Jessica holds the one card that can topple the house of cards the truth about Meghan's loyalty. She slept with my husband. Whether those words end up in a court filing or a tell-all book, the sentiment is already out there. It is the open secret that broke a 16-year marriage. It is the betrayal that turned a sisterhood into a Cold War. Jessica Mulroney lost her career. She lost her best friend, and now she has lost her husband. She has been stripped down to the studs. But here's the thing about people who have lost everything: they have nothing left to fear. Meghan Markle may have won the battle for fame, but she has created an enemy who knows where all the bodies are buried. And as the ink dries on the divorce papers, one thing is certain: Jessica Mulroney is done protecting the Duchess. And when the full story finally breaks, it won't be a tabloid rumor. It will be a reckoning. What do you think? Is Jessica Mulroney the victim of a ruthless social climber, or is there more to this story that we still don't know? And do you think she should release the receipts? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about the dark patterns of royal friendships, click this video right here, because Jessica isn't the only one who got burned. I'll see you there.